I feel like my style is either a McDonald's employee or an old woman who's trying to be trendy. Hey guys, it's your girl Grace and we're back at it with another video. So today we are here to talk about another acting video. If you guys are liking these added acting videos that I've started incorporating into my channel, please give this video a thumbs up. But today we're going to be doing a video on memorization. This was the bane of my existence for a very, very long time because I didn't know what worked well for me when it came to memorization. So take these tips with a grain of salt. I'm going to talk about a couple of different methods of how you can memorize your lines, your monologues. If you need to recite a poem for poetry out loud, throwback to high school, if anyone remembers that. I did that, and your girl definitely forgot her poem halfway through on stage. Great times. I'm going to be talking about how you can memorize things. Basically, the number one tip is to figure out what works best for you. There are a ton of different methods. You can write it down, you can write down all of your lines so that you know your lines. You can do flashcards where you write your line on one side and your cue line on the other side. My friend Alexandra likes to do that, and she gets one of those booklet almost of flashcards that have like the little rings so they're all attached and you can just flip right through them. That works really well for her. She also writes down her lines over and over again like a madwoman. Like if someone walked in and just looked at all the pieces of paper with her lines written on them, they would probably think she was crazy. Works well for her. I personally enjoy recording the lines surrounding my lines in voice memos. So say my line was hello and someone said hello before me. I would say hello and then mouth my line in the time that it normally takes for me to say that line. And then I would say the next person's line. And it's really, really great for me because not only can I memorize my own lines by doing that and saying the lines in the middle, but I also get to know the cue lines surrounding my lines, so I'm not just like saying my line whenever, because that's another problem that a lot of people have, is that you know your lines, but you don't know your cue lines. And if someone messes up, you get all discombobulated. That is what I like to do, and it's worked really well for me. It's great because at the beginning I can sit with my script and look at my script and read off my lines while the other person's lines are going on the voice memos. But once I get to understanding my lines really, really well, I can walk down the street and listen to my lines and think about them in my head, listen to other people's lines and think about my lines in my head. And I can do it while I'm driving or whatever I'm doing, eating a sandwich perhaps, making a nice breakfast for myself, going about other errands, whatever it is, I can listen to them. For me, I find that consistency is key. So if I am going to start memorizing lines, I need to do it every single day, run through them all at some point in my day, and just I have to go through them every single day. Otherwise my brain will not remember them if I miss a day or a few days. If I miss a day, it's kind of like, okay, I'm a little more rusty than I should be. But especially when you're trying to memorize a monologue, no. Every single day. It's also great to have someone else run lines with you because even though you may believe that you know your lines, even when you're running it with a recording, trust me, when you get a physical person there who reacts differently, may have a different inflection on some of the words, may go slower or faster, anything can mess you up. Monologues I'd like to do a little bit different. I don't really record lines with my phone because there are no lines, but I do usually like record my monologue at least to see how long it's going to be, and then I will break it up into sections. So I just plug and chug. I will take a chunk of the text, the first chunk, and I will drill it until I have it, and then I will learn the second chunk, and then I will drill chunk 1 and 2 together until I have them together. And then I will do the same thing, however many chunks of the text that you've broken it up into. You can break it up into sentences, you can break it up into few sentences, you can break it up into paragraphs if that's how your monologue is laid out. Really depends on you, really personal, but that's another tip that I have specifically for monologues. You can also make a song for it. I have a friend in my class last semester in our Acting 3 class where we learned sonnets, and she just made a song about her sonnet, and that's how she remembered it, and that's how she could recognize it. I would definitely recommend, though, if you're gonna do that, to start out using that method, but then transition into not having it be a song so you don't like sing instead of speaking. Another method with a monologue is to, again, just write it down. You can do the same thing with breaking it up, but instead of speaking it out loud or listening to it, you can write it down. I would obviously definitely recommend that you are speaking your monologue out loud at some point in the memorization and process of you working a monologue, because you're gonna be saying it out loud. You're not gonna write it down when you actually perform it. Another tip I have is thinking about listening. So listening to the other person in your scene, because your lines are going to be reactive to what that other person is saying, a response to what that other person is saying. Sometimes they're not, but most of the time they are. So that can definitely help you out with memorization. You know, you might have some clues in the earlier dialogue that will cue you into what your next line is. If you have a monologue, on the other hand, I would still focus on visualizing that other person, because even if you're doing a monologue and you're alone in a room, you're still focusing your energy on someone and towards something or some goal. So visualizing that in front of you and really like reacting to that and bouncing off of that is going to help you with memorization. One thing about that though is I personally always like to memorize in just like a general neutral tone. Because if you memorize with an emotional focus or a beat focus or whatever, you're gonna have a harder time adapting if your director or an auditioner or someone asks you to change, which they will. So don't get yourself into the trap of, you know, having your body influence how your line comes out, memorization being influenced by your muscle memory or anything like that, because that definitely can happen. My next tip is to sleep on it. If you are struggling with a monologue, you're getting frustrated because you had it a while ago but you keep messing up, or you're really struggling with your lines, if you've done work on it that day, take a break, take a nap, go to bed, whatever, sleep on it. Because I find, and it shocks me every single time, and it shouldn't shock me because it happens every single time, but every time I'm struggling with lines, or I feel like I don't have them, or I just don't get a monologue, I sleep on it, and the next day I can recite it greatly from my memory. Get a good night's rest. Same thing if you're sick, if you're cranky, if you're not feeling well. Do what you can that day, sleep on it, feel better, and I guarantee that your mind will also be quicker at reacting and remembering. And my last tip is to take breaks. So, if you have been working on a monologue for a while, if you've been working on your lines for a while, and you really, really need to learn them, but you have spent an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever is too much for you, take a break, take a breather. Your brain needs to process and think about what it's been learning so far, and then come back to it if you feel like you can. you know, our brains just get all muddled up sometimes, especially when you've been focusing really hard on trying to memorize this one thing. Take a break, time yourself, say, okay, I'm gonna work on these lines one time through, or I'm gonna work on this monologue for 15 minutes at a time, and then I'm gonna take a break for 30 minutes. I'm gonna go do yoga, I'm gonna go do more homework that I have, I'm gonna go outside and do something else, I'm gonna go hang out with friends for a little bit. Trust me, having your brain kind of reset and do something else and focus on something else for a little bit is going to be very helpful and will help you to be able to come back with a fresh look at your monologue. And it may even help you to find more choices that you may not have already discovered. Alright, so that is all the information and tips that I have for you today. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions or any other tips about memorization or the ways that you memorize, let me know down below. It is always helpful to find good ways to memorize things quickly. Alright, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. You guys can check out my previous video on that side of the screen and my previous vlog on that side of the screen. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.